was intended to go back to Hollywood and use her title to pursue her career. And they went there, and undoubtedly at the beginning it was absolutely
existed before Netflix. In 2013, a woman at a London dining table allegedly requested to be introduced to a well-known football player before the beverages were consumed. Tom Bower keeps coming back to that particular, minor fact that has already been extensively covered by a number of media outlets. He claims it exposes a pattern that permeates everything that came after, not because it is the most bombastic assertion in his depiction of Meghan Markle's life before Harry. And this specific episode of the Sussex saga is worth closely and thoroughly analyzing because of the pattern rather than any single narrative. When her marriage failed in 2013 and she was unable to locate a partner in Canada, she began looking for a boyfriend in England. And she desired fame as much as fortune. As noted by Bower and others, we are going over the entire prehistory picture tonight. Within minutes after meeting a mutual contact, she allegedly inquired about the football player. The pop singers are said to have ignored her communications. According to reports, she was still living with the chef when Harry got involved. The Piers Morgan tale has consistently made headlines. The career that the official narrative later suggested was not exactly what it was. And the broader question of what the pre-royal era truly looked like beneath the meticulously crafted narrative that was subsequently shown to a worldwide audience. Since most accounts of this chapter begin with a supper, let's start there. The year was 2013. Meghan had just gotten to London. According to some reports, her marriage to Trevor Engelson ended in a fashion that shocked those who knew the couple. The wedding ring was reportedly mailed back without a heartfelt farewell, a detail that stuck in the minds of those who heard it and has been reiterated in subsequent reports. Final, clean, and cold. According to these tales, a 2-year marriage ended without the kind of protracted emotional processing that most people associate with the end of something important. She hoped to meet with Howie Mandel virtually. This was discovered by Mrs. Mandel. According to the story that has since been repeated numerous times on various platforms, she was not wasting any time at all while she was in a new place and forming new relationships. Meghan supposedly made a fairly straightforward and early request to be introduced to Ashley Cole during a meal with Lizzie Cundy, the British television personality and socialite with links throughout the UK celebrity and sports world. There are still a lot of things that will be revealed about Meghan. Therefore, she is in a losing struggle. She simply doesn't want the things she's done in the past to surface, because she wants us to see her in a certain way. For background, Ashley Cole was one of England's most well-known football players in 2013. He had continuously represented the England national team, played at the top level for Arsenal and Chelsea, and garnered a lot of tabloid attention over the years, not all of it related to sport. By 2013, most people in British celebrity circles were treating him with some degree of caution when it came to public association because his personal life had been thoroughly and frequently cruelly recorded in the British news. He was not the object of modest, aspirational attention. According to Lizzie Cundy's account of the incident, Meghan seemed to perceive opportunity rather than danger. According to reports, Cundy declined to introduce herself, and she has since discussed the incident in other interviews. In Tom Bower's account, this rejection served as the starting point for a more comprehensive discussion of Meghan's social interactions during this time. He does not say that it is improper to request an introduction. Individuals connect. In new cities, ambitious people seek out connections. People want to meet celebrities. He argues that a particular aspect of the working logic is revealed by the speed, directness, target specificity, and consistent use of this strategy in many social contexts. Meghan was an embarrassment. Therefore, Trevor Engelson was very reluctant to put her forward for anything, regardless of what she applied for, and was awarded. Then she attempted to escalate the situation and make it into something it wasn't. Every meeting had a purpose. Every new acquaintance was a possible door, and the social climbing was intentional, active, and obviously goal-oriented rather than informal. It is actually up for debate whether that reading is fair. In highly competitive industries, ambitious individuals actively network. Furthermore, there is nothing intrinsically strange about someone seeking to make friends as soon as they arrive in a new city. However, Bauer continues coming back to this tale because he feels that everything that transpired in the years prior to Harry's appearance is consistent with the pattern it creates, the deliberate approach, and the obvious goal linked to every social encounter. Usually, St. Meghan Markle whines and complains about the media. "I wanted to be with my friends, and she had come up from Canada." He said, "No, look after her." I said, "No, I'm going to. I want to sit with my friends and have a giggle." However, we actually got along really well. She wanted to find an English lover, and we had a great time laughing. I was looking through my phone when I said, "Look, I'll help you." It was Chelsea football player Ashley Cole. Click like if Palace Insider provides you with the complete picture that other channels exclude. It enables us to connect with more people who are interested in the truth. Since this is the aspect of a narrative that has sparked the greatest internet debate, let's now analyze the pop stars. According to several stories, Meghan was allegedly messaging British celebs on the internet in 2015. Matt Cardell and Max George are two names that are frequently mentioned in the news. In 2010, Matt Cardell won the X Factor. He was well known in the UK entertainment industry, had a chart-topping hit, and had a fan base outside of the competition. According to reports that have been extensively discussed in royal criticism and Bauer's research, Meghan contacted them, expressing her admiration and proposing to meet when she was next in London. It was a pleasant, amiable approach, the kind that is simple to accept favorably and equally easy to let slip. According to reports, Matt noticed the messages, thought about replying, but ultimately decided against it in the vernacular of the digital era. A woman who would later marry into the British royal family and become one of the most talked about public personalities on earth ghosted me without responding or setting up a meeting. As Bauer has observed, and as royal pundits have often since, the irony of that episode is particular and difficult to overlook. You know, the thing about Meghan is that it's simple to despise her, and she understood just how to play. The thing about her, though, is that she is an incredible success on her own terms. She had no origins, not a particularly good actress. She didn't have any money. After the Suits series in Canada, she had no future, but all of a sudden, she's a multinational celebrity with a huge fortune. Naturally, that's a huge achievement in her eyes. At that moment in 2015, the same woman who would go on to become well-known throughout the world as a prominent Hollywood figure, a renowned campaigner and philanthropist, and the Duchess of Sussex reportedly failed to consistently get a previous X Factor winner to reply to her messages. The same story is told by Max George from The Wanted. At the time, The Wanted was a popular boy band with a sizable following in the UK and abroad. A truly well-known name in pop music. According to Max's own later version, Meghan had been in touch, kind, and enthusiastic about his work, along with the well-known suggestion to get together. They sent each other a few messages. To him, everything seemed insignificant and informal. Nothing more happened. Then, years later, Max apparently had the particular and somewhat shocking insight that Meghan had been the one contacting him years earlier when her face appeared everywhere in relation to Prince Harry. In the setting of one of the most well-reported royal relationships of the time, the realization, "Wait, I know her," became a narrative unto itself. She had always planned to return to Hollywood and utilize her title to further her career, and when they did, it was undeniably fantastic at first. By combining these two tales, Tom Bauer makes a point that he comes back to again and time again. It wasn't that Meghan was doing improperly by contacting celebrities. Rather, it was the contrast between the public narrative that was created around her ascent, that of a woman being sought after by the globe, of relationships coming readily, and of fame flowing smoothly towards someone truly remarkable, and the reality of her situation. The official narrative does not fully account for the reported precarious years during which the outreach seems to have been traveling largely in one way. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe to Palace Insider. Additionally, Ashley Cole, the professional football player at the time, Matt Cardell, the former X Factor champion, and Max George from the boy band The Wanted were on her hit list. I'll address all of that, but I also think it can be rather educational at times, and I appreciate Princess Carpacle's efforts in locating these. Just looking closely at how she looked in the medical examination. Do you think Tom Bower's story is accurate, or is he overanalyzing typical networking behavior? Let's go on to the detail about Corey Vitiello that Bower has identified as the most structurally important in the pre-Harry period. In Toronto's restaurant industry, Corey Vitiello was a well-known and prosperous chef, a real career accomplishment in a cutthroat field. According to several published sources, Meghan and Corey had a strong relationship when she was living in Toronto. Living together, they were creating a common existence. Additionally, Corey thought they were creating a real future together, according to accounts from many who knew them at the time. It was something with forward momentum rather than a casual arrangement or a relationship that was obviously coming to an end. This is the chronological question posed by Bower and others. When did the relationship with Corey Vitiello officially end? What connection does that date have to the start of the Harry story? According to several published sources, Meghan and Harry met for the first time in the summer of 2016 thanks to common friends. According to reports, a mutual contact who felt they could get along arranged the meeting. According to testimonies in the Netflix documentary and other sources, the romance took off right away. According to Bower, the dates that Meghan was growing closer to Harry and Corey Vitiello believed the relationship to be ongoing were not completely separate, as the official story said. He contends that it became more difficult to reconcile the existing narratives with the version of events that was made public when critics arranged them side by side. Although Corey Vitiello hasn't discussed the issues in great detail on the record, the chronology issue has never been settled in public discourse. The morality of how a relationship ended is not the main reason Bower thinks this is significant. His point concerns how a story is put together. The official tale in Bower's framing is a part of a larger pattern of selective presentation if the documented timing indicates the image was more nuanced than that and the official version showed a clean break from the Harry connection. The most helpful anecdote was the one that was shared. He contends that it's unclear if it was the most comprehensive. Let's now discuss Piers Morgan, as his story has spawned a whole ecology of opinion that doesn't seem to be going away. Piers Morgan originally got in touch with Meghan via social media, and he has recounted the tale numerous times and in great detail. Warm notes praising his work and proposing a meeting while she was in London were sent by Meghan. The strategy was comparable in nature to the strategies Bower reports elsewhere. Amiable, flattering, and meeting-focused. She was intriguing and endearing to Piers. He consented to meet. According to his story, it was a truly pleasant evening when they got together for drinks and chat at a tavern in Kensington. Two persons who appeared to be getting along had hours of casual chat and genuine friendliness. He departed with the conviction that he had truly made a new famous buddy. Not a transactional acquaintance, but someone he thought would stay in touch and who had been worth the effort. According to his own words, he was happy with the relationship. She was interesting and intelligent in his opinion. At that moment, the friendship seemed genuine to him. One of the most often recounted tales in the Sussex commenting community is what transpired next. After leaving the meeting, Meghan went on a blind date that night that was set up by mutual friends. Prince Harry was the one on the blind date. They got together. According to several accounts, the link was important and the chemistry was instantaneous. And according to Piers Morgan, Meghan completely ceased communicating after that night. No messages to follow up, no friendship maintenance, and no form of check-in. The individual with whom he had spent a significant portion of the evening conversing, and with whom he had developed a truly positive opinion, had abruptly, and without explanation, ceased communicating. According to Bower, this is the same operational logic he saw in the messages to Matt Cardell and Max George and at the Lizzie Cundy dinner, but it's happening on a different scale and with a different goal. According to his account, a connection is sought after with warmth and care for as long as it fulfills a goal. Furthermore, the older relationship loses significance when a more important one emerges. The audience can decide for themselves if that is a trend or an interpretation created after the event by Piers Morgan, who has spent years openly and significantly expressing his affections for Meghan. The order of events, the pub, the evening, the same date, and the ensuing stillness are all recorded. Piers has discussed it in his published writing on television and in interviews. According to all public accounts, he has never completely moved past it. Additionally, Bauer offers it as the most obvious example of the pattern he claims permeates the entire prehistory chapter. The individual stories are fascinating, but the cumulative argument is what merits close examination. So let's zoom out and see what Bauer is truly arguing with all of this material. His main argument is that the public was shown a particular, meticulously crafted narrative of Meghan Markle's ascent. Natural, genuine, and sought after rather than chased. A woman whose notoriety and connections came about as a result of the world seeing something special and authentic in her. Additionally, he contends that the pre-royal era presents a noticeably different picture when examining the recorded testimonies as opposed to the official narrative. Bauer's perspective does not distinguish between good and bad people. It falls between a narrative that is told and one that is recorded, between the version of events shaped for public consumption and the version suggested by the specified sources, the disputed timings, and the particular exchanges. A tale of purposeful and aggressive social climbing, networking with specific objectives linked to every encounter, relationships abandoned in favor of greater connections, and a career that had reached a limit that was mostly hidden by the official narrative. Particularly in regard to the career, Bauer is direct in a way that has drawn a lot of criticism. Meghan had visibility, a steady salary, and a nice working life in Toronto thanks to her role on Suits. It was a 9-season, highly regarded television drama with a devoted following that provided Meghan with a steady career platform. However, Bauer is candid about her position in the real Hollywood hierarchy as a result of that. Not on the A-list. Not near the A-list, and not headed in the direction of the kind of breakthrough parts that turn cable TV actors into truly international celebrities. He points out that she had access to networks developed over years of working in television, family members with industry credits, and professional connections that most aspiring performers would never have. However, according to his perspective, none of those relationships had resulted in the kind of professional success that the post-royal narrative suggested she was about to achieve when Harry showed up. According to Bauer, the portrayal of a woman on the verge of becoming a great Hollywood star in some articles and interviews was a considerable creation based more on what the narrative demanded than what the career trajectory truly showed. Additionally, Bauer and other critics have frequently brought up the deal or no deal part. Prior to Suits, Meghan worked as one of the game show's briefcase models, a lucrative and well-publicized professional position in television that does not quite fit the retrospective narrative of a serious actor gradually advancing towards significant breakthrough work. Critics point out that the way the deal or no deal years were later portrayed as a humiliating diversion from a more serious path contrasts with the timetable of how those years actually fit into the career, even though Meghan has talked about her personal sentiments of objectification during that time. By all accounts, it was just a television gig. Later on, it was understood to mean something different. The listener must consider if the evaluation is fair, accurate, or just the result of a critical biographer operating from a preconceived conclusion. Supporters of Meghan constantly contend that her career was strong and expanding, that she was creating something genuine, and that the Bauer story is influenced by the people who consented to speak with him. Sources that are unlikely to be impartial by definition. That is a legitimate criticism of the critical biography approach, and it particularly pertains to Bauer's writings. However, the sources Bauer cites for each of the pre-Harry tales are typically identified. The dinner has been discussed on tape by Lizzie Cundy. There is a published version of Matt Cardell's description of the communications. Max George's memory is recorded. One of the most widely recounted tales in royal commentary is Piers Morgan's description of the pub evening. Bauer's interpretation is the pattern he creates from these named accounts. The accounts are not anonymous in and of themselves. The Invictus financial concerns, the brand performance, the Project Thaw debates, the celebrity silence, and the pre-Harry years are all making a comeback in royal commentary circles in 2026, with the Sussex operation under the kind of commercial and reputational pressure that numerous commentators have thoroughly documented. More attention than ever before is being paid to the discrepancy between the Genesis tale that was publicly given and the one that the historical record shows. It has to be seen if this scrutiny has any impact on those who developed their opinions during the peak of Sussex sympathies in 2021 and 2022. However, the pre-Harry chapter provides a specific and referenced group of data points that the official tale has never fully addressed for the audience, that is still comparing events side by side and questioning if the official version and the available evidence truly match. The timeline in 2016, the messages in 2015, the pub in Kensington that same evening, and the dinner in 2013. There are 4 recorded instances, several cited sources, and one persistent claim made by Tom Bower that the narrative you were given and the one backed by the evidence are not exactly the same. Since the publication of Bower's biography, that argument has been in circulation. It has never been completely settled, and the opposing side has never sufficiently answered it in a way that takes into account the cited sources. Meghan has turned it down. The sources and the methods have been contested by her supporters. However, the documented sequences, named testimonies, and individual anecdotes have not vanished from the public discourse. Because they provide a distinct and different origin story from the one that was meticulously created and presented, they keep coming up anytime the Sussex brand is under financial or reputational strain. The pre-Harry years feel more relevant in 2026 than at any other time since the original royal departure, as the Sussex operation navigates the weight of the Invictus's financial concerns, the scaled-back Netflix relationship, the brand performance that has fallen short of early expectations, and the reported Spencer veto on the Diana anniversary project. Because Bower's pre-Harry chapter was based on the same problems that are currently being addressed about the Sussex brand: authenticity, the discrepancy between the documented and presented versions, and who is pursuing whom and for what purpose. A series of pop star messages from 2015 and a disputed timeline from 2016 are unlikely to affect the opinions of people who developed them in 2021 during the Oprah appearance and the quick compassion wave that followed. That's just how large-scale opinion formation operates. Smaller-scale counter-narratives are unable to alter the emotional framework created at the height of Sussex sympathy. It is not accurate because of that. It gives it strength. And part of what Bower is arguing about is that durability. He would contend that the emotional frame's longevity stems from the fact that it was skillfully crafted and delivered at a time when sympathy was at its highest, and there was little chance for the opposing version to be heard on a similar scale. 50 million people watched the Oprah interview. A much smaller one is reached by the critical biographies. Corrections and disputed versions have never quite matched the magnitude at which the public narrative was constructed. The prehistory chapter is situated in 2026 inside this asymmetry between the scale at which the meticulously crafted story was introduced and the degree at which the alternative stories have since been documented. Not as a revelation that completely upends everything, but rather as a verifiable alternative that has consistently existed, been recorded, and posed the same query. Does the account you were given accurately reflect what transpired? The audience that watches this channel, however, is already aware that the pre-Harry chapter differs significantly from the version that was sold to the world in 2021. This audience is the one that has been following the documented evidence rather than the manufactured narrative, the one that compares events side by side rather than just accepting the official framing. Bower gave the pattern a name. It was documented by the cited sources. And regardless of what the official account chooses to highlight or exclude, the pattern he found, the meal in 2013, the communications in 2015, the chronology in 2016, the pub on the same evening, is what it is. Everything that came after was built upon the prehistory years. They form the foundation of the entire Sussex narrative. They were the least obvious at the time, the most meticulously crafted in hindsight, and the most worthwhile to study today. You can truly comprehend the Sussex story by carefully examining it, not through the lenses of the advocates who support her or the biographer who opposes her, but rather through the specific and documented accounts of named individuals who were present, as opposed to just picking the version that the biggest platform loudly presented. Tom Bower built an argument from cited sources over a period of years. The question is whether the pattern is real, whether the argument is sound, or whether the events that comprise the pattern have more straightforward explanations when viewed separately rather than sequentially. It's a really fascinating issue to consider. And despite years of public coverage, the Sussex narrative has never adequately or completely addressed this question. What do you think is most important about this prehistory picture? Do you believe Bauer's interpretation of the pattern is accurate? Or is he making connections that don't really exist? Please share your thoughts below. To ensure you don't miss the next one, hit subscribe. Additionally, the like button allows us to reach additional people who are interested in this type of study. I'll see you at the next one.